right, good evening, everyone. It's 6:01. We'll go ahead and start tonight's meeting. Let's start with roll.
Commissioner Lede.
Here.
Commissioner Calandra. Commissioner Diaz.
Here.
Commissioner Kreiner. Commissioner Sturgill.
Present.
Vice Chair Bray. Chair Vang.
Here. Thank you. Everyone, may you please stand. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I'll now go ahead and read the procedures for tonight's meeting. This meeting is being conducted in person and electronically. For each matter considered by the Commission, there will first be a staff presentation, followed by a presentation for the project applicant. Testimony from supporters of the project will then be taken, followed by testimony from those in opposition. The applicant will have the right to a final rebuttal presentation prior to closing the public hearing. In accordance with Section 13 of Article 2 of the Planning Commission Rules and Regulations governing length of public debate, all public testimony from those in support and in opposition of the project will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The 3 lights on the podium next to the microphone will indicate the amount of time remaining for the speaker. The green light will be turned on when the speaker begins. The yellow light will come on with the soft bell ring when 1 minute is remaining. The speaker should be completing the testimony by the time the red light comes on, with the final bell indicating time has expired. All in-person public testimony must be presented to the Commission at the podium. Any testimony that references race, religion, ethnicity, economic status, national origin, or any other classification protected under state or federal law in a derogatory manner should be deemed irrelevant and will not be considered by the Commission in making its land use determinations. If you challenge these land use matters in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised in oral or written testimony or before the close of the hearing. Next, we have the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Good evening, Chair Vang, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Israel Trejo with the Planning and Development Department. There are no changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Do we have any motions from the Commission to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Perfect. We have a motion made by Commissioner Diaz, second by Commissioner Calandra. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, say no. Motion's approved. So we don't have anything on the consent calendar. Do we have any reports from the commissions?
Yes, I want to say something. First of all, I just want to thank Mayor Dyer for his graffiti removal program. Our city is looking way cleaner. So whatever the city did, Mayor Dyer did, and the council did, they did a good job on that, and let's keep that momentum going. My other thing is, whenever I'm driving to downtown every Wednesday, we have an ugly-looking entrance. Whenever I take Fresno Street, I mean, we don't have any flowers, and the road is all rough and messed up, I think. Downtown is the heart of a city. I mean, it's like it represents what Fresno is. So I would like to know maybe in the future, like, are we making any plans to beautify at least the entrance to city of Fresno, or especially also the 99 corridor? We have hundreds and thousands of people, they pass through Fresno. And I hear people say, man, Fresno looks kind of, I don't want to use the word here, but I think let's make it more welcoming. I mean, there are a lot of tax dollars coming, but let's actually have more welcoming, more flowers, more greenery, maybe more art. So whenever people are passing through our downtown, whenever people are passing through our beautiful city of Fresno, that they could appreciate the scenery of our city. So positive, graffiti, we're doing great, but I think we can definitely work on some beautification. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, is that a question for the staff or is just a comment?
Oh, actually, my question is, do we have any timeline when we'll be improving the roadways and beautifying, especially the entrance to downtown Fresno, especially Fresno Street?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Shergill. At our next Planning Commission meeting, we do have staff from Public Works Department who is going to give a workshop on street improvements and the such.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. Just in response to that, there is Beautify Fresno. So if you or anybody would like to spend time beautifying Fresno Saturday mornings, there is that option as well. I know you have a large following, so I'm sure you can get some people to help beautify it as well.
May I please add, I am a big advocate for Beautify Fresno. In fact, we organized for the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 years. We have been cleaning with Beautify Fresno. In fact, my son is sitting right there. He's one of the youth leader. He gets a lot of kids from Central High School. Well, he'll be, graduated. But yes, Beautify Fresno is also making a huge impact into our city of Fresno. Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Any other comments for the commissioners? No? We'll go ahead and move to new matters. So this is item ID 251101. We have election of a chair and vice chair. Do we have any motions to nominate? We'll first do the chair.
I do.
Go ahead.
I would nominate Kathy Bray for the chair.
Do we have a second? Okay. Should we take a roll on this, or?
Does Kathy have a say?
I was going to nominate Peter, so.
So do we?
You have a nomination on the floor. You can request multiple nominations, and then we can do roll call votes on each of those nominations. Typically, the person being nominated would need to accept the nomination. So I think it would be prudent, Chair, to ask Commissioner Bray if she wanted to accept the nomination. Or if she wanted to make a different nomination.
Vice Chair Bray?
I'd like to nominate. I would second that. I would definitely support that. I did not know that it could be consecutive, so perfect.
Okay, well, I appreciate the nomination. I'll go ahead and accept that. So let's go ahead and take a roll on this, please.
Commissioner Lede,
Yes.
Commissioner Calandra, Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Shergill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bray, and Chair Ving.
Yes, thank you. If anyone voted no, then, I'm just kidding. No. All right, so next we have the vice chair. Do we have any nomination for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Kathy, if she accepts. Okay.
I'll second.
All right, let's go ahead and take roll on that, please.
Commissioner Lede,
Yes.
Commissioner Calandra, Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Shergill, Vice Chair Bray, and Chair Ving.
Yes. Congrats again, Vice Chair Bray. All right, so next we'll go to item ID 251108. This is for consideration of an appeal regarding development permit application number P2303993. Yes.
Make a statement.
Yes.
I would like to announce that I am good friends with someone that has written an appeal letter. This should not have any bearing on my decision or give me a bias on the project, but I did want to put it out there.
Thank you. Thank you for the transparency. Staff?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Vang, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Rob Holt, Supervising Planner with Planning and Development. And tonight, staff brings forth consideration of an appeal of a development permit, plan development permit, and conditional use permit. The subject property is located on an island surrounded by Veterans Boulevard to the east, Herndon Avenue to the north, and Hayes Avenue to the west. And the land uses surrounding the subject property are single-family residential to the north, vacant land and further single-family to the east and south, and vacant land and a middle school and elementary school to the west. The subject properties are zoned RM2, which is urban neighborhood, multifamily, as well as employment office with the O office zone district. And surrounding that to the north are RS5 medium density and RS4 medium low density residential to the north. East, open space and medium low residential to the south, and public facilities and office to the west. The project proposal includes 3 different development type permits. And the first is a development permit, which encompasses a multi-unit residential project that is on 16.53 acres. It proposes 396 multi-unit dwellings with 33 buildings, and they're all 3-story buildings. There are 2 gated entrances along Hayes Avenue, and there is an emergency vehicular access gate that provides access to Herndon for emergency vehicles only. The development permit also includes development of a office zone property for commercial and office buildings. One is essentially located with a 12,750 square foot multi-tenant shell building. To the north is a 5,000 square foot pad for a future building, which also includes a drive-through lane that comes in with the conditional use permit. And to the south is a 4,916 square foot pad for future building, multi-tenant building. And there are 2 public vehicular driveway access points to the commercial property. The last, so we start with the development permits and the CUP. The last permit is a planned development permit, and that encompasses 2 different types of requests for both the multi-unit and the office zone district property. I'll start with the 2 on the multi-unit. Requests a reduction in the expressway area overlay district setback requirement. We'll go into further detail that in just a bit, as well as a reduction in the minimum interior side yard setback requirement, specifically on the western property line. Again, we'll go into detail. And for the office zoned district property, there is a request for the reduction in the minimum drive-through separation requirements from residential districts. In this case, the residential district would be what they're proposing to develop on. There's nothing to the west or north for this to be adjacent to, as well as a reduction in the minimum front yard, parking, and landscape setbacks, again, from the residential district to the east and along Hayes Avenue. That said, this exhibit shows why the plan development essentially was born and brought forth. You'll see that there are sort of 2 gray boundaries that merge into one. One's 60 foot, one's 50 foot. It merges into 110 feet. That is actually a PG&E easement where the existing PG&E towers are. So no construction of any structure can occur within that, within those easements. Additionally, within a majority of the easement, there's a blue easement there that's a flood control easement where it's with a 66-inch pipe and it has a 25-foot easement, and it kind of comes and veers out towards the southeast end of that. Again, no structures can be constructed within either of those easements, which kind of puts a strain on how the property can be developed, which is why they requested these setback reductions and other things. That said, for the office zone district property, beyond those requirements of the plan development, it does comply and is conditioned to comply with the O district properties, and the remainder will be about the residential project. So on the multi-unit property, the applicable setback will be the interior side yard, which are along the east and west property lines. The minimum requirement is 5 feet, and there is not an issue on the eastern property line, which is proposing 10 feet, double, but on the western property line, there are enclosed garages along the western property line at 0 feet where the plan development would kick in and allow for less than a 5-foot setback reduction. There is the expressway area overlay. Herndon Avenue is considered an expressway, and in our code, it says that no building shall be erected within 200 feet unless an acoustical study is performed and provided that provides recommendations of sound mitigation. And if that is completed, then a minimum 75-foot is required instead of the 200-foot. So the applicant did provide an acoustical study. It was done. It did provide sound mitigation along Hayes and Herndon Avenue for sound walls, and which would kick in the 75-foot. Because it's considered a development standard in our code, that can be modified with the plan development. And again, due to those, and you can't see it as clearly in here, but there are 2 residential buildings to the north I've kind of highlighted with the red. Those are proposed at 37 feet, and that setback starts at the center line of the nearest travel lane of the expressway. So the nearest center line of the nearest travel lane of Herndon Avenue, 37 feet from there. It's supposed to be 75. Again, plan development findings because of the issues of the PG&E easement and the FMFCD easement forcing those buildings up is why we made the findings to be able to provide that setback requirement. The density for the multi-unit residential is RM2, so that is 16 to 30 dwelling units per acre. And what's proposed is right around the middle, about 23.96, almost 24 dwelling units per acre. The height requirement is 50 feet. Every building, there are 3 different types, as you can see here. Every building has a peak height of 43 foot 6 inches, which is 3 stories, and there are 33 buildings in total. Here, you can see the image on the right for required open space. What was required was 2.64 acres. What was proposed was 2.68. Although not every single acreage count is highlighted here, I did want to highlight the major open space areas that will probably be used the most from all the residents, which includes barbecue areas, tot lots, swimming pool, a basketball half-court, gazebo areas, and a dog park. What isn't shown is highlighted are other usable open space areas based on dimension requirements in our code, as well as private balconies and patios for private open space. Cumulatively, though, it does comply with the requirement. With parking, our parking counts for multi-unit residential differ based on how many bedrooms you have and based on the number of bedrooms for each type of unit. It ultimately required 636 total parking spaces, of which 396 had to be covered, so one residential unit has to have 1 covered parking space, and then additional guest parking spaces were 240, which are uncovered. And with what's proposed is such that 636 total, of which 396 are covered and 240 are uncovered. And the maximum lot coverage requirement is 50% for the multi-unit residential, where they're proposing 26. As part of multi-unit or as part of any residential project, staff is required to review the Housing Accountability Act to ensure if it does meet all of the criterion of that act. Although it does meet the definition of a housing development, because the project requires a planned development permit, which modifies development standards, or in other words, objective zoning standards, one of that criterion for the Housing Accountability Act is that it complies with all objective zoning standards. So in this case, because of that planned development permit, it results in the Housing Accountability Act not being applicable. There was a neighborhood meeting held by the applicant on May 4th, 2023 at River Bluff Elementary School. There were 12 neighbors in attendance. They included the following concerns: noise, traffic, specific to an increase that could lead to Herndon Avenue being eliminated at Hayes, and then traffic directed onto Veterans. Density concerns, requesting the applicant work on providing safe pedestrian crossing at Hayes and Veterans for future neighborhood children attending River Bluff, and a request for placement of additional lighting along the sidewalk frontage as a measure of security for children crossing Hayes Avenue. The project was ultimately approved, and a notice of action granting that approval was posted on July 3rd, 2025. The appeal period for that approval ended on July 18th, 2025. Staff did receive 1 appeal letter within that time frame on July 9th, as well as 5 written correspondences received in opposition to the project. Of that, for the appeal concerns to focus on, there were 4 that were brought up. There were concerns of the children's safety walking to and from the nearby schools, as well as an increase in traffic, particularly with construction and future added population that could create hazardous conditions, as well as an influx of added residents that could exacerbate significant existing traffic congestion during peak hours, leading to safety issues. With these 2 concerns, Public Works memorandum requires that there be a high visibility school crosswalk at the intersection of Hayes and Palo Alto, which is at the entrance of the multi-unit residential project, and additionally along Hayes Avenue is a trail with a 4-foot wrought iron fence, kind of similar to the wrought iron fence along the trail on the north side of Herndon Avenue, if you're familiar. So that would answer to those concerns from that appeal. And then there's a concern on the lack of public consultation and community input into the project's approval. Residents directly affected by this development deserve a 90-day notice to voice their opinions and concerns. Because of the conditional use permit and planned development permit, we did do a notice of action, which required a 10-day comment period that was approved. From those that requested the notice of action, as part of that 10-day period, we did provide that to those individuals when it was posted as required from the notice of action, as well as we did provide a public hearing notice within 10 days for tonight's hearing through the appeal. So that was a public consultation following code. And the last was that the added multi-unit dwellings could alter the character of the neighborhood. The project is conditioned and complies with the requirements of the RM2 zone district, as well as our findings that ensure that it's in character of the RM2 zone district and the neighborhood. With that, staff's recommendation is to deny the appeal and uphold the action of the Planning and Development Director in the approval of the development permit, plan development permit, and conditional use permit. That said, before concluding, staff did receive a letter early this afternoon that is provided to you on the dais, just for your notice. And with that, staff concludes the presentation. Based on tonight's meeting, we do have slides available for findings if those are needed to be reviewed, as well as in your Exhibit A, our findings. And that will conclude it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Question? Go ahead.
In terms, you talked about having sound walls along
Yes.
Herndon,
Mhm.
and I think you said
Hayes.
veterans. Oh, Hayes.
Hayes, yeah.
How high do those go?
Along Herndon, 8 feet, and along Hayes, 6 foot 8 inches.
Okay, and these apartments are 43 feet high?
Correct.
So how does that 8-foot wall help the people that live on the second and third stories of those apartments? I'm really, I've lived next, I'm a block away from Herndon, and or not Herndon, but Fig Garden Loop. And the cars there don't go anywhere near as fast as they do on Herndon and on, well, Veterans Boulevard, which is adjacent also. It can be really loud. And are they planning on any kind of mitigation with special windows or something to block the noise?
The mitigation would be to have, it didn't speak specifically to the second and third floors for that area. It would be for that the windows would be closed, and doors would be closed, and that AC ventilation be provided for those units. Additionally, in that specific location on Herndon Avenue, although it is classified as an expressway, it can be noted that in that area it does curve into Veterans at a traffic signal. And I do know that the speed limit does get reduced along there, so cars aren't going as fast as they are elsewhere on Herndon Avenue.
They do.
But
live
I
out
understand.
there.
Yeah. But that would be the mitigation. But that was what the mitigation called out for that area. And there are only 2 buildings along Herndon Avenue that close to that frontage because of the placement of the PG&E easement.
Okay. The other thing is the parking. Having so few parking stalls for like 1.5 for a 1-bedroom, I can see that being a problem, where there's no neighborhood for people to park as an alternative. I was out at a commercial development this weekend, and they didn't have enough parking. People were parking in the neighborhood to go to restaurants. And I'm just wondering what's going to happen to the people that live here if there isn't sufficient stalls. And most families, if you have, if you're living in a 3-bedroom home and you have teenagers, they usually have their own cars. And 1.5 to 2 slots per unit isn't going to cut it. So how can that be mitigated?
Well, that's a good question, Commissioner Calandra. We do have to follow what code states for minimum parking standards. I'm not sure if Public Works can speak to if there's any on-street parking requirements or not on Hayes, and if that would be blocked. I do know that this is on an island, so it's not within or adjacent to single-family subdivision neighborhoods, although they are in the area, but it is on its own little island. So you would have to drive out of the neighborhood to actually be able to walk or get to this place. But I'm not sure how it would mitigate if it's compliant with code. It wasn't a concern as part of the environmental nor of the code requirements. We just want to make sure that we comply with what code requires.
And what happens, I mean, how do the residents then address this later on when it is a problem? I mean, even though it's allowed by code, I mean, I can foresee that there are going to be problems. What type of, method is there for people to address this later?
So, Commissioner Calendar, I think I can help answer that question. So, as Rob mentioned, this code does meet the minimum parking requirements of what the code requires. So, there's single bedroom, there's 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom. So, we feel that the minimum code requirements meets, what we've seen throughout the city meets minimum parking requirements. Also, there are opportunities for pedestrian, like to walk. That is, there's a trail in the area, and I'm not sure if there's a nearby buses, and do we research? Just to the north, there's a bus. Yes, so again, the project does meet the minimum parking requirements, and we felt that with other projects, we haven't seen where there's not enough parking.
And just, I'm sorry, go ahead. It's a good point. I'm not sure I can comment on that, but that would be a good point. And then Commissioner Calandra, yet to add to that, there is actually the project at the northwest corner of the project adjacent to the drive-through area. There is a requirement to put in an 80-foot bus bay. And so there will be, but it's adjacent to a trail. So that would allow for anyone that doesn't want to use vehicles to travel to Fresno. And there's 2 different bus routes there as well, routes 3 and 20. To use that, as well as across the street existing, there is a bus bay. So they have other avenues beyond just vehicles to do that, which could be factored in as part of that. So
I have a comment on that too. I think sometimes when we're looking at things from our perspective, it's easy for us to assume that teenagers and families that have 2 teenagers could afford cars for each teenager, and that's not always the case with specific families. So I think maybe there's a minimum standard for a specific reason. There are a lot of families that don't buy their teenagers cars or don't have that luxury, and I see that this is located off of Herndon. There are other forms of transportation there as well. So I do want to push back on that. I don't think that there's going to be a family of 4, hopefully not living in a 1-bedroom studio, that's going to need 4 parking stalls. So just to push back and just to keep it in perspective, we all have different perspectives. We all live different lives. We do have a housing shortage, and there are people that need homes regardless of how many parking spaces there are.
Commissioner Shergill.
Thank you. So first of all, what I'm looking at, this project will definitely benefit the businesses, the huge business that, we have a lot of businesses, like a lot of stores there. And I also see we have Rio Vista Middle School and River Bluff Elementary School as well. That would actually also help bring in more students to San Diego School District. So yes, there are benefits to it. So my only question is, will there be any traffic issues, especially for the schools?
the traffic requirements for the project are mitigated through our Public Works Department as well as our environmental. Again, the project does allow for, or does require that the Palo Alto and Palo Alto and Hayes Avenue intersection, there will be three or four high visibility crosswalks, which are kind of higher painted with neon yellow, that type of thing for the students. So that was mitigated from that.
Also, also, will they also have like a connection, like a walking connection? So whoever there, I I can probably tell there will be a lot of families with the kids who will probably rent these places. So they'll most likely, they'll just walk. They'll walk to the elementary school, they'll walk to Rio Vista. It'll be easier to just walk? Will they have like easier walkways there?
Yeah, can you pull up the aerial, please? I guess just that, I can go do it. So it's kind of hard if I can. I don't have a pointer. At the south end, I'm not sure. Can you see where Palo Alto kind of veers off towards the south of that picture? It's kind of by itself. So that's Palo Alto. That street aligns exactly where you enter the multi-unit subdivision. That's the primary entrance and exit of the multi-unit residential project. So any students or anybody can walk out of there, and it'll be directly into those high visibility crosswalks. And just so you kind of can, I'll show you right now, 1 second. Oops. Sorry. Can you just go to the last one? I don't want to do that again. Right there. So this is an example of what a high visibility crosswalk looks like. It's painted kind of with the brighter yellow with the bright yellow neon signs. And there'll be 3 of these at that intersection. And this one, just if you want to look at it later, it's at Maroa and Browning.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Will there be any signals either on Hayes and Palo Alto or crossing Hayes at Veterans Boulevard?
I believe Hayes and Veterans Boulevard, thank you, Commissioner Kalanja. Hayes and Veterans already has a signal installed.
But isn't that up by where it comes? Okay, I haven't driven that street.
And Palo Alto and Hayes will not have a signal. It's currently an always stop, and it will remain as such. It's just they'll add the high visibility crosswalks. But Veterans in Hayes is signalized.
Commissioner Diaz?
Yes, may I have a quick question? Can you tell me in relation to the distance where the new Costco is also going to be established, which I know it's also going to be there on Herndon?
On the north side, it's 1 block to the west. I don't have an exact distance, but it's just 1 block to the west at Riverside and Herndon.
Yeah, if you look on the aerial, you'll see it.
I think it'd be a square mile.
So it's not just this development, it's an accumulation of everything, regardless of the minimum parking requirements. I mean, a lot of traffic is going to be there.
Yeah, and I would anticipate that's why Herndon Avenue is an expressway, at least in this location.
It's about a mile.
About a mile.
Any other questions or comments for staff?
Do we have the developer here?
We do.
We do.
Okay.
Are we, any other questions for staff before we have the applicant speak? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
May we please have the applicant?
Good evening, Commissioners and staff. My name is Orlando Ramirez, and I represent Marco Polo Enterprises on this project. As you may not be aware, we have been working with staff on this project since 2022. So initially, the project started as a much larger development, which encompassed over 18 acres of residential to include 516 market rate apartments, and included 2 acres of commercial, as you've seen on the exhibit there. Additionally, we were working with staff on gaining, gaining access to Herndon Avenue as an exit-only egress location that was going to be handled through the GPA process. After much discussion, the city decided that the traffic could be handled internally, and then no access would be permitted along Herndon, with the exception of an emergency vehicle access. Therefore, we amended the request and had a series of meetings and discussions with staff on accessible access points. We worked diligently with staff to finalize an acceptable project that took approximately 5 to 6 revisions to the site plan. What we have approved now is a solid project that was a collective effort from our team, city planning, engineering, public works. Let me back up a little bit as to how we got here with the actual 396 number. As initially mentioned, we started with a 516-unit development on 18.75 acres. The project included approximately 2 acres of residual city land on the east side of the project boundary. At the time of the submittal, city staff had provided a list of items that needed to be included and or completed prior to accepting our application. An important item on the submittal list was the code requirement to reach out to area property owners to provide them with an opportunity to comment on our project. City staff provided some mailing lists that included 650 residents that we sent mailers to within the area of the specific area of the plan area. We proceeded to rent out the cafeteria at River Bluff Elementary, anticipating a large number of individuals. And we had a meeting, as Rob said, on May 4th, 2023. Out of the 650 notices we sent out, we had 12 property owners in attendance. The key concerns were, as Rob stated, they were concerned about traffic and safety for their children. We discussed the developing Veterans Parkway and Herndon Avenue realignment, which we knew would alleviate any traffic concern. It was noted that residents were more concerned with the new street alignments of Veterans and Herndon than any access provided within our project. We also felt it important to take the extra step on our project, so we scheduled a meeting with school district staff. On July 7, 2023, we met with the Director of Facilities Planning, Construction Manager, and Facilities Technician. The meeting was positive in that all involved were set on working towards a solution that benefits all parties and for the safety of the children. It was agreed that the school could handle the additional enrollment numbers, that we would work with the city on providing safe crossing for future students. That decision was to put crosswalks on both sides of at Hayes Avenue crossing Palo Alto. So that worked out really well. And so in summary, we feel that these two outreaches address the neighborhood concerns about any notification and school concerns. As noted previously, the project was inclusive of the applicant's land and a residual city-owned parcel, which collectively permitted the development of 516 units. Consequently, the city required that with purchase of the city land, any development of the city parcel on the eastern boundary will contain an affordable housing component. We initially agreed to this, even though our project is considered a higher-end market rate development. Unfortunately, the owner and the city were not able to negotiate a purchase-sale agreement for the city acreage. So we removed this area from our project. We're left with approximately 16.36 acres of developable residential property. This required a complete redesign of the proposed development, so we went back to the drawing board using the zoning ordinance and came back with a 396-unit development. This resulted in a reduction of 120 units from the original 516, which was permitted by right. Just to be aware, based on the acreage, the density allowed for this RM2 zone district allows up to 30 dwelling units per acre, which could have resulted in 490 units by right. We believe strongly in having large passive and active open spaces as reflected on the exhibits, so we chose to develop the project at 24 dwelling units per acre instead of the 30, which is 94 units less than what is permitted by right. This reduced density allowed us to include a basketball court, as Rob mentioned, dog parks, tot lots, barbecue areas, pickleball courts, and large open spaces throughout. One key thing about this project, and the reason we had submitted a planned development permit request in lieu of just processing the project as a typical site plan review by right, is that there were exceptional circumstances, as Rob mentioned, to the site that really considered and were constrained the development. The affected parcels have a huge PG&E and flood control easement bisecting the project on the north and east. The easements are at a minimum 110 feet wide and actually widen as it goes towards Herndon Avenue. This encompasses over an acre and a half of our project area. This really made it challenging for building placements since buildings are not permitted within easements, as we all know. I just wanted to point that without easement restrictions, we would have easily met the setback requirements of the zone district and not pursued an exception to the setbacks through the planned development permit process. The project is designed to eliminate any resident access points along Veterans Boulevard and Herndon Avenue. There are 2 access points for the residential development along Hayes Avenue. Both are gated, with the southern access point being the main access. Residents will be able to utilize Palo Alto to get to the school and Riverside Drive to the west, or use Hayes Avenue north and south for access to Herndon in either direction. Residents will also have the opportunity to use Veterans Boulevard for access to Golden State, Freeway 99, and Shaw Avenue. All these new roadways and realignments significantly minimize any potential traffic concerns the neighbors may have. As required, we hired the top traffic specialist in the valley for our traffic analysis. JLB provided us with a pretty comprehensive report that analyzed existing traffic with project conditions, near-term and long-term project traffic conditions up to the year 2046. In summary, all intersections studied are projected to operate at an acceptable level of service during peak times. Lastly, I was made aware that a large concern was that the development was going to be or include low-income or affordable housing. We ask that the neighbors and this commission accept that our business model has never included an affordable or subsidized development. It was only at the city discussion and the removed city parcel that this came up, but never materialized. In fact, the neighborhood can rest assured that this development will be developed as a high-grade apartment that will be constructed with high-end materials, which comes at a significantly higher construction cost than most single-family construction ever did. I thank you for your attention to the long-winded explanation, but I felt it important since there are so many moving parts and concessions on our part in order to bring a quality project that will not only look great, but will also contribute to the city's housing needs. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Would you be willing to put in noise buffering windows on the units that face Herndon or back up to Herndon?
Yeah, I have seen it in some projects in the past, in my past experience, where there's railings on the there's railings on the balconies there's railings that those could be converted to solid railings to mitigate some of the noise. They also, in most cases, require that any units that are above grade that where's a noise concern, that they use a heavier grade of glass, a tempered glass, to eliminate some of the noise issues as well.
Will you do that?
I'm sure the applicant would be willing to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Shergill?
Yes, we do have housing shortage in Fresno. What would be an ideal rent in that area for those units?
Being that the cost on this, and I'm speculating, but I assume in knowing construction, is that most typical construction in the city of Fresno is about $250, $275 a square foot. For this specific project, they're using higher end materials and construction thing. We're looking closer to $400 a square foot, which exceeds what is usually constructed with residential. That's the new norm these days based on construction costs, but the developer has a history of using high-end materials in his apartment complexes, so they do command a little more as far as rent. So these are market rate. Typically, they were considered luxury apartments. They're going to rent from $2,000 to $2,400 a month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. We'll go ahead and go out to the public. Do we have any individuals who would like to speak in support? All right, I see none. Any individuals who would like to speak in opposition? All right, I see none. I'll go ahead and close all public comments. We'll bring it back to the commission. Do we have comments or any kind of motions from the commission?
Okay. I would like to make a motion to deny the appeal and uphold the action of the development director with the exception of a couple things. One is that the windows
Adjacent to Herndon?
Be upgraded. And the second would be to signalize those crosswalks to be on demand, where if kids are standing there, they press the button and then it activates the lights, so they have a little higher level of safety. I've seen those. There's one on Fresno Street. I think it's Fresno Street, coming toward downtown. And I think it would just add that extra level that I think the neighbors are concerned about.
So we have a motion made by Commissioner Calandra, second by Commissioner Diaz. Let's go ahead and take roll on this.
Before you do that, so you're going to need to make additional findings. So if you'll look at Exhibit A of your packet. So when you are looking at off-site, so you're going to have to identify a nexus for requiring additional off-site requirements for the traffic pedestrian signals. And then for the modification of the expressway overlay district development standards, there's already some information in the in finding A, but you'll need to expand upon that finding for the purpose of requiring additional acoustical mitigation above and beyond that required by the study. So essentially two things. You're going to need to identify findings. So you're going to need to expand on finding A related to the expressway area overlay district standards. And then you're going to need to identify a nexus to require additional off-site requirements. We do have Mr. Mata from the Public Works Department who could maybe help you if there are specific findings that are necessary for off-site requirements above and beyond what's required by the development code.
Could have Public Works come up.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jairo Mata with Public Works. So we did receive the traffic impact study from JLB. There was, from our findings, there was no nexus to have what we would call a hawk at that location at Hayes and Palo Alto. The traffic impact study didn't show that there was a need for that at that time. Right now, the reason being right now it's a three-way stop. So that means everyone needs to stop at the intersection. So the only kind of mitigation that we would require would be the high visibility crosswalks. So if we were to have a hawk, the hawk opens it up for all traffic to move freely along Hayes. Right now, the three-way stops kind of serves like traffic calming because everyone that approaches Palo Alto and Hayes has to stop already. With the hawk there, that kind of means that traffic will be free-flowing along Hayes, which is not the case today.
Okay, so in the event that there's a problem later on, the residents in that area can then contact their council member because there's a problem? Would that be the normal?
No, normally, if there is a problem in the future, residents can contact Public Works, who can actually determine if there are warrants under state law that would require a higher level of intersection. And that would be dependent upon a number of factors, including traffic levels, speeds, accidents, that kind of thing, that would require a higher level. But there are certain warrants that Public Works is required to abide by in terms of what it requires as a condition of approval. So when you go beyond that, you have to identify an actual nexus. Otherwise, we can't require more than what the warrants currently or the traffic study calls for.
So I would imagine like the next level with it being a three-way stop will probably be lights, correct? Because it's not a free-flowing street.
Oh, you mean like a traffic signal?
Correct.
I would think so. At the time, that's all we looked at right now. The traffic impact study, we didn't see a nexus to require a hawk or a traffic signal at that intersection because you already have traffic signals at Hayes and Veterans, Hayes and Herndon. Then you got, which other one? Herndon and Veterans as well. So there's traffic signals all over.
Correct, because the use of a hawk is more for free-flowing traffic, and you already have that three-way stop.
Correct, yeah, and right now we already have the three-way stop, so everyone stops at that intersection.
Okay.
I think we didn't know there was a three-way
does. It does.
Yeah,
I could,
And
yes,
it-
I can amend and take that out.
okay.
But I would like to also explore the issue of the fact that people have to keep their doors and windows closed if they are to not have noise. And that, I mean, Fresno, in the evenings, it's very nice to open your windows. If you have a slider and you're up on the third story, you're not worried about somebody climbing in. You could leave your door open and get a breeze. And yet, they're denied that because of the noise factor. And if that's not mitigated in some way, in some respect, you're denying them the right to enjoy their home.
I think my concern would be if we were to elevate the sound walls, then aesthetically, it would just,
That's not the best option, I don't think, because, you know, you're putting up a huge wall. I mean, it's 8 feet already.
I think also I think we live in a city now, and I think this is a city development, and I think people in bigger cities have traffic noise and trucks and sirens and all of those things, and I think that's a consequence of living in the city. And I think people have a choice. These aren't affordable housing, so it's not like they need to go there because they can't pay much rent. If you go to LA or San Francisco, you see very nice, fancy houses right on the freeways. Those people don't care about the sound.
I agree
And
with
it's a
you.
choice. So they can choose not to live there, or they might like to live there because of all those amenities, but they're not being made to live there.
No, I understand.
And I just
And-
don't think there's anything you can do that high up that would make a difference. Sound.
I
kind
agree
of
with you.
window.
I think it's pretty ridiculous to live right by Herndon and expect not to hear any noise.
Commissioner Calander, if I may. So I think that, you know, the mitigation requirement that you had, I think that's, you know, it's fine. But what we've done in other instances similar is for those units that may experience the louder noise, like the units that face onto Herndon, we've required the owner of the development to provide a letter of those units nearest that you may experience, you know, higher levels of sound. So it's kind of a, you know, just notification of people that they may move in those units.
It's like when you have a development in ag land and you're made to understand that there's going to be spraying and tractors
farming, right.
and farming. So it's the same thing on a different level. It's just that it's the city. And that's what happens in the city. So-
Well, and then you have the people that live near the airport that had all of their windows replaced because of the noise. And so, I mean, there is mitigation that can be done, and it just,
There is the airport noise disclosure if they are in the path or if they have any airport noise. I would like to make a substitute motion to deny the appeal and uphold the actions of the Development Department as is. Is that something that I can do?
we still have, I think we have a.
You
we
would
have a
need to
standing.
take action on the motion on the floor. I will note for the record that the requirement for interior noise levels, Commissioner does note that with standard building construction methods today, that it will meet the interior noise requirements. It's the exterior noise requirements on the balcony that it wouldn't meet. And I think that the applicant offered a potential mitigation measure for the balconies, which potentially, for the outdoor space, it's not required to meet their minimum recreation area or open space area, but if that's something that you were wanting to modify the exterior space, right? If there was a way to mitigate noise for the balcony, not the interior, because the interior, it meets the requirement. And I would defer to the applicant if that's something that they were willing to do. The commission certainly has can go either way. You would just need to make findings that the exterior, it already says this, doesn't meet the noise standard, but with mitigation it could. So that could be a potential additional mitigation measure that the commission could place on the project if the applicant was amenable.
May I please add something?
Go ahead.
I think in the city of Fresno, we have been very blessed with the land. I mean, we do have a lot of land. We're, flat land. But as the population is growing, I mean, we're over 500,000 plus people that resides in the city of Fresno. I think skyscrapers, multiple level buildings, they will come. I mean, I think we're used to single story, everything single, but I mean, they will, eventually we have to do it. I mean, because we are getting into the farmland now. So what you're saying, I think noise, absolutely, I do agree with that. But the thing is, that's what Shaw Avenue, Herndon Avenue, all these main roads, it actually comes with the package. There's just so much traffic. I know with the marketplace, with the school, it just, because these are high-end apartments. So I think whoever wants to probably live there, they'll have a choice. Like, hey, do I want to pay $2,500 for this unit, or do I want to pay $2,000? So I mean, I think City of Fresno, we just need to get used to these, taller buildings.
Commissioner Calandra, so with your motion on the floor, do you want to make amendment in regards to requiring like exterior noise mitigation?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Do we need to be specific? Okay. Do we need to be specific and ask for any kind of input from the developer too, or?
Yeah, so you can be specific, or you can be somewhat flexible in mitigation that would reduce the exterior noise to below the exterior noise standard. And that would give them flexibility on the type of materials or construction technique that they utilized. It looks like perhaps they might want to mention, but in terms of go ahead. In terms of your motion, you would need to make a finding in the plan development standards. You would need to make a finding as to what your rationale was for requiring above and beyond the noise standard, since the outdoor space was not required, right? So if you look in plan development findings, which starts on page 8 of Exhibit A, you have density and massing, parking, etc. You get to noise. Residential development standards are starting on page 10, in the middle of 11. So it says, as previously stated above, because the second and third floor balconies are not included in the open space requirements, they are not subject to the exterior noise requirements. You could make a finding that to be, consistent with the general plan in providing additional outdoor or open space, that you're going to require this particular measure.
I just want to clarify that we are talking about the two buildings closest to Herndon Avenue, and those two buildings. We're willing to mitigate those, as we indicated, for those two buildings to suppress some of the noise. So we're willing to do that on those two buildings.
It says that the mitigation is that people have to keep their doors and windows closed.
to remain below the remain below the noise that's in the city's general plan for interior noise standard. So the interior noise standard in the general plan, and again, this is not a CEQA mitigation measure because CEQA analyzes the project's impact on the environment, not the environment's impact on the project. So this is a standard in the general plan that says we want all of our interior spaces to be below this noise level. Just because someone lives in the airport influence area and has a heavier pane window doesn't mean they're not allowed to open their windows. They can open their windows whenever they want. These people can open their windows whenever they want. They just cannot, it just will not meet that standard, so they would need to be notified, right? That if you open your window, you're now going to be subject to noise. If you open the door to the patio or to the balcony, you will be subject to noise above and beyond the standard that's in the general plan. So this allows them to modify the standard. It's saying the only way to get those interior noise below is to require that those windows and doors remain closed for sound insulation. But they're not going to have a balcony without a door to the balcony. Right? So someone could open them if they wanted to. So I think what the developer is offering is on those two buildings that we're modifying. So the buildings that are closest to Herndon, they're the only ones that have this noise issue that don't meet the standard, that they would have additional exterior noise mitigation at their discretion as to how they were going to do it to allow for a lessening of that indoor noise if they had the balcony door open. Does that make sense? Okay.
To put it into, how do I word it so that that comes clear in my motion? So we have eliminated the on-demand crosswalk already.
Correct.
As long as your second agrees with your modification. So the finding is the proposed development is consistent with the general plan, the Fresno County Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, pursuant to and any applicable operative plan, adopted policies, including density and intensity limitations that apply, right? So you're going to say it doesn't comply with the general plan, because we've said that below. We've said how it can because of construction standards. You're going to modify to say to create greater consistency with the general plan. You want to add or require that the developer add additional noise attenuation on the balcony, on those two buildings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion is to deny the appeal and uphold the action of the Planning and Development Department Director, and with the exception of the additional sound mitigation for the buildings along Herndon that will require additional mitigation measures.
In order to be consistent with.
To be consistent with the
General
general plan.
Okay. Commissioner Diaz, do you second that?
I second that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a roll on this, please.
Commissioner Lede,
Yes.
Commissioner Calandra,
Yes.
Commissioner Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Shergill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bray,
Yes.
Chair Ving.
Yes. Motion passes. Do we have any reports from Secretary?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to fill you in that we have published the Tower District specific plan for comment, and the Tower District specific plan implementation committee will be meeting on Thursday to kind of celebrate getting to this point, right? Published for public comment, the plan and the EIR. We do anticipate that the plan and EIR will come to this body in November. So if you're interested in starting your read on that, now's a good time to start looking into that and follow along. Their meetings are available on Zoom, so if you wanted to just watch their meeting Thursday night, there will be a summary and overview, just a refresher of the plan. That's up to the chair.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and, we're going to take a 5-minute break at 7:06. We'll go ahead and resume at 7:11. All right, everyone. We're just gonna go ahead and resume the meeting at 7:08. We're gonna go ahead and do we have any unscheduled oral communications? Go ahead and please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Diane Bennett Smith. My address is 1540 West La Sierra Drive, District 3. My question is to whoever's in charge of the minutes being put on the city website, is why is there such a long delay sometimes in the minutes actually coming out so that people can read them in a timely manner? So
Any
whoever
other
can
comments?
answer that question?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and I'll let staff answer that. Yeah. Thank you. Do we have any other unscheduled oral communications before we have staff address that? Please state your name, address, and 3 minutes.
My name is Burnett, and I'm with the Heat for Southwest Fresno Community. I'm going to be in an objection to anything else that's going on in Southwest Fresno because the community, once again, is not involved, and we still have a lot of the trucks that's in that area. They're supposed to water down those project sites. They're not doing that. There's dust everywhere. So they're not doing what they're supposed to do. This is what we're getting in Southwest Fresno. And that's what we were saying, our community doesn't have an input. And also, I am curious as to know that you guys states on here, all public speakers will have up to 3 minutes. I want to understand, why is it that you guys have the developers, they get up here and talk longer than 3 minutes? They are public speakers. They do not work for the city. You guys allow them to come back and forth, but you don't do that with the community. All of these things that you guys do affect our community. But after 3 minutes, we have nothing else to say. But you guys are allowing the developers to do that. So I want to understand that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other unscheduled oral communications? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and deflect this over to staff. First question is regard to the meeting minutes. Do we have like a expected timeline or turnaround time?
Yeah, typically, the minutes are provided at the very next meeting, but they don't appear on Granicus or Legistar until they've been approved by the commission. So your meeting minutes from this week are typically at the next meeting, sometimes the following meeting, but usually within 30 days. And then it takes a few days for those to be uploaded to Legistar. So it usually takes 2 to 4 weeks before they're uploaded.
Gotcha. And then the second question is going to be in Southwest Fresno in regards to not watering the area and having a whole bunch of dust. Who can they contact to make sure that the development is in compliance?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. So there are a couple ways that residents can let us know that there's something happening that may or may not be in compliance with a condition of approval or with local laws. So the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District will absolutely go out and cite a property that is not using appropriate dust control mechanisms. Those can also be reported on our Fresgo app to code enforcement. Or can simply submit an email to our planning department letting us know that something is happening on a particular site, and we can send an inspector out. So absolutely, it is crucial that all developers follow all of the requirements from the Air District, and that is one of them.
Thank you. And then the last question is probably for maybe the attorney. Regarding the ability for developers to have more than 3 minutes speak on a specific project.
It's in the bylaws for the Planning Commission.
So in your bylaws, it specifically lays out the order for a hearing, staff report, the commission questions, applicant presentation, commission questions, then the public hearing, closure of public hearing, deliberation. So that, and there's also an opportunity for rebuttal. So if you look in your bylaws, it's very clearly stated as to what a public hearing process looks like.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, it's 7:13. We're going. Yes, go ahead.
It's a great section of the development code. We'd love to go over that. So I don't know if our next meeting may be full or not, but we could do a workshop on our parking requirements for residential and non-residential uses. Be happy to go over that with you, as well as any state laws that now require us to not apply parking standards.
Awesome.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Wouldn't mind the workshops as long as Rob's presenting it. So.
It has to be Rob.
All right, everyone, it's 7:14, meeting's adjourned.